Today, we're going to be watching a serial killer who watched his own movie about him. So I'm actually curious, what's his reaction going to be like?
On September 19th, 1986, the body of a 71-year-old woman was discovered half naked by the side of a road. The police immediately assumed that she had died from a hit and run, but further autopsy revealed that she was sexually assaulted and strangled to death. Unfortunately, she was just the first.
Whoa.
45?
That's more bodies than I have now, bro.
That's more than a Call of Duty nuke.
This would be the start of South Korea's worst criminal case, with a third.
Okay, we weren't there.
I don't think we were born yet, bro.
There's only one person in this call that was born at that time.
With a 33-year manhunt, and even a movie
33
just to figure
years?
out what the killer looked like. A movie that the serial killer eventually ended up watching for himself.
That's crazy. He got away with it so long that he was able to watch his own movie made about him.
Isn't that one movie where that guy is like looking at him at the very end? Oh, no, I'll just play it. I don't know if this is it.
Ooh.
This is Inspector Park. He's one of the 4 main detectives in this movie.
That's the dude from Doctor Strange.
On his way to the first crime scene. He finds his body.
This is the movie! I was right! This is it! At the very end of the movie, bro, that main character, he like looks at the camera because he knows the killer's watching this movie.
He finds the first body in the fields outside a small Korean town.
gosh.
The naked bound body is in a concrete covered trench with local children nearby. Inspector Park doesn't know it yet, but this will be the most grueling, intense, and emotionally exhausting investigation of his life. And almost immediately after, he reviews a line of suspects for the first murder. A second victim is reported in a rice field. The crime scene isn't roped off. The forensics team arrives late, with civilians, reporters, and even children standing next to the dead body. And then to make matters worse, a tractor runs over an important piece of evidence.
Does no one care? Like, there's a dead body and people are like laughing about it.
The kids are not going to understand it, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I would think like at least the parents would have some like decency. Like, why are they like laughing and having a good time about it?
Looking at the body, you can see that the hands and feet are tied up, as well as the bizarre fact that she's wearing her underwear over her head. Quickly after her death, the movie establishes a line of suspects for us to look from. So let's take a look at the 3 suspects that are presented in this film. First is Kwang Ho. Kwang Ho is described as the mentally disabled kid of the area. It was reported that on the night of the second murder, he was following the victim, and as a result, he's quickly taken in for interrogation. During the interrogation, he's physically abused by the detectives, and eventually, they somehow squeeze out a confession out of him. Soon, they report to the media, and report that Kwang Ho was the killer. They then bring him to a reenactment.
He's framed, bro.
So the whole movie is about 3 people who they think it was, but it's none of them.
That's crazy.
They then bring him to a reenactment scene with the media present. But it's very clear that he's not the killer. Remember how the victim was tied up? Kwang Ho has a physical web hand deformity, which makes him physically incapable of doing so. The police also blamed him for being disabled, citing his hate for women stemming from his disability. The craziest part about this is that it actually happened in real life. This is the real-life innocent man who was convicted in 1989 at age 22. He served 20 years in prison and was tortured into confessing after the 8th murder. The police had tortured him for hours, preventing him from sleeping and eating. And the worst part is that they blamed him because he was disabled.
Honestly, like, we're so blessed to live in this time. Still, obviously, horrible things that are happening in today's time, right? But like, life back then, it's like, and you're just blamed for like reasons that don't even correlate to each other.
That didn't even make sense.
From a young age, Yoon Seung-yeol had polio. His mother had died in a car accident in middle school, and his father was a gambling addict. He didn't come from an educated background, so he didn't know how to fight back against the police. Fortunately, 20 years later, when the killer was discovered, Yoon was exonerated the year after.
He had to go through that for 20 years?
It took him a year after finding the killer to be like, okay, fine, we'll finally set you free. Like, come on, bruh.
And his story is even repeated in the second suspect. Let's talk about Jo Byung-sun. At this point, the police already had 3 murders on their hands, and unfortunately, it was time for a 4th.
Dude, he got away with 42 more after this.
Dude, that's incredible.
A woman who was supposed to be meeting her husband by the factory was chased down and met the same fate as the first two victims. And again, as history repeats itself, the crime scene is littered with incompetent people. At this point, the police officers still have nothing. They have no idea what the killer looks like, and no idea of what the motive could be. Fortunately, they were able to catch a glimpse of a man who is having a little too much fun at the crime scene a couple nights after the murder.
Fun? What?
You're lying.
You're getting freaky.
The innocent man wasn't an actual goober. So
Can't just drop that type of word on this video.
That's crazy.
That wording is crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
similar to the innocent man, the second suspect was tortured into giving a confession. He's held for so many miserable nights that at this point, confessing is the only way out. In the movie, we also see protesters outside the police station protesting against his torture, which is representative of the actual political climate in Korea in the 80s. In total, the police investigated over 21,000 people, 4 of which killed themselves after confessing and being tortured by the police. The South Korean police
It's crazy. It's like if they didn't have anything on you, they would just torture you until you would admit it.
Dude, I feel like they did more harm than the actual serial killer.
It's like a whole different time zone.
The South Korean police force faced an immense amount of pressure from the public to catch the killer. At the time of the innocent man's imprisonment, 8 people had been grossly murdered in the span of 2 years, and the police still had no real leads. As a result, a great deal of South Korean society had great anger towards the police. And this might put into context why the police were so harsh and so insistent on getting confessions. Because at the time, all that was needed for a prosecution was a confession. So if the police were able to beat it out of someone, they would. Despite this,
Did he
a
just
witness likely
dropkick
saw
him?
the actual killer's fate near the crime scene.
Like, if they do get a confession, the murders would still happen.
They would happen and they would still have him in jail too, which is the craziest part.
It's all terrible.
The police then used this description to come up with this poster. Wait.
Oh,
hold
what?
on, wait, okay. Fuck.
My
where
mate. Now is not the
No.
time.
This
Michael
is the
Jackson?
poster
That
they
is more
used.
believable.
And they asked the public if they had any information regarding the crime, or if they saw the man that you're about to see in a moment. They reported that he was between the ages of 24 and 27, around 165 to 170 centimeters, and possessing these key traits on his hands. And after everything,
What was that
everything,
subtitle?
this is what they came up with. This is what he looks like, which honestly, I think is so bad. Like who actually, that could be anyone. That could be like
That's
half the people in this
insane.
movie.
That's
I don't the third
insane.
suspect.
Half the people in the movie.
This dude said he looks like Lego people, bro. That's insane.
The third suspect in this film is Park Jung-gu, who's an educated factory worker and a former soldier. If you look closely, you'll notice that he's made to look different from everyone else in this movie. If you compare the youngness of his face, the difference in his clothing, and the fact that he looks like he doesn't belong in the rural countryside. This was all made intentional by Bong Joon-ho, and it's all used as another device to change the way you think about the character. But let's look at the other facts that make him so suspicious. Throughout the film, there are a series of patterns that are consistent with all the murders. They were all killed at night, all of them were killed while it was raining, and all of them were killed when a specific rare song was playing on the radio. A rare song in which only one person was requesting to the radio. So every single murder on these seemingly random days had the same song playing that's requested by this man. At this point, the detectives are sure that this is the killer. But the thing is, requesting a specific song on a radio is not enough grounds to prosecute. And when he doesn't let up, they have to resort to DNA evidence. But South Korea doesn't have this technology yet. So they'll have to wait and let him go while they wait for the results.
I'm gonna be honest, don't go outside alone as a woman when it's raining at nighttime.
Back then, you come out of work after 8 p.m., 9 p.m. You don't have a choice.
Back then, were women really working though for real? Like, it wasn't as common.
Dude, this was 40 years ago. This is not too long ago.
Yet somewhat predictably, during the wait, another person dies, and it's a middle school girl. At the same time, the results are finally back, and it's revealed that it's not a match. But the police have nothing. This is the best that they got. I mean, every single murder was correlated with the song, and this was the guy who requested the song. But since the DNA is not a match, they're forced to let him go, and the police are left with what they started with, absolutely nothing.
You requested the same song every single time there was a murder. It wasn't him because the DNA didn't even match.
Or he works together with the murderer or something.
Yeah, like what if it's like a 2-piece murder?
All of the long nights of chasing suspects all of the false leads that they followed, an exhaustive indexing of all the men in the region. This was their guy, but at the same time, they couldn't prove it. This will cause the investigators to stop at a complete dead end, much like real life. The murders weren't even solved when the movie was released in 2003.
What? Bro, they were making a whole movie about the serial killer and they didn't even solve it?
That's how he watched his own movie.
Yeah, I thought he watched it in like prison or something. I didn't expect him to not even be caught at this point, and they're like, oh yeah, let's make a whole movie about it.
And explains the famous final shot of the movie, where Inspector Park breaks the fourth wall and is looking directly at the killer's face. Because Bong knew the killer could still be out there and watching the movie, but he was watching. Let's talk about the actual killer and how he was caught. Near the end of 2019.
19?
That's 16 years later.
That's 6 years
Seriously?
ago.
It took that long? The guy's like an old man at this point. He lived his entire life.
Insane.
The man who was innocent had a worse life than this person. That is insane.
Almost exactly 33 years after the first murder, modern DNA analysis identified this man as the actual killer. The DNA was analyzed from the underwear of one of the victims that matched with his. At the time he was identified, he was already serving a life sentence in a prison in Busan for the and murder of his sister-in-law. When he was interrogated, he initially denied the allegations for over a week. So the police, instead of using their aggressive tactics like the 80s, brought in a young female investigator so he'd be open. Over 9 rounds of interrogation later, he finally confessed when he was confronted with irrefutable DNA evidence from the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th murders. And to double confirm, the police had him reveal details about the crimes, and he perfectly described parts of the crime scenes and positions of the victims' bodies that weren't revealed publicly. And so this is what he would have looked like during the murders, and this is what he looks like today.
He's alive today? This guy's on the planet right now.
So now you finally found me. I was surprised I wasn't caught earlier. I knew that this day would come. I am the real killer. But what's even more crazy is that he admitted to over 30 other sexual assaults, which makes the total 45 victims for this one person. And to call him a person is almost too much of a compliment. He reported that he saw Memories of Murder, the film about his killings in prison. A film which showed the intense detriment that he had on people's lives. All the innocent people whose lives changed forever. The pain of the families of the victims that he harmed. And his reaction to witnessing all of this, I felt nothing.
What?
I mean, that makes sense. I mean,
Well,
he's a
that
serial
makes a
killer.
lot
He's
of
a
sense.
psychopath. He has no feelings whatsoever. That genuinely might be one of the worst people on this planet, and that lives here today. That is crazy.
Yeah, he's still alive, bro.
If you guys want to see more videos like that, make sure to subscribe to Director's Cuts. But if you guys want to see more kind of documentary style videos, sure hit that subscribe button and check out a similar video right over here.